Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a carry tier list for patch 7.31b, and before we jump into it, I just want to tell you how I arrived at this list. So first, I look at the trends tab here. It's the same thing on Dota Buff. It just gives you the general statistics for picks and bans and win rates, etc. I look at the Divine and Immortal bracket for all of that, make my judgments. I also look at Dota2ProTracker.com to see all the pro level pubs with pros in them and see what they're picking, if they're winning a lot, etc., etc. And then the last thing that I looked at is the NA, Western EU, and China DPC Division 1 and all of those, pick, ban, etc., win rates, all of that so far in the league in Season 2. So that's how I arrived at this list. I sort of compiled all of those things for every hero, and then I kind of make a judgment, which is a little bit subjective about where it should go. Maybe a hero is one place in pubs, but a different place in the pro meta. That might change where the hero goes. Maybe it's really bad in pubs or really good in the pros. I might shift it up a bit, or, vice versa. So anyway, that's how I arrived at this list. And now let's jump in and look at the S tier. The number one hero, the first hero, the best hero of the patch is Tiny. Tiny is far and away the number one carry. This hero is absolutely insane right now. It's really crazy. It has just a pick rate that is above almost any other hero. It's just ridiculous. Really, the only reason that a hero doesn't get picked more in pubs is probably because it gets banned every game. It's ridiculous. Like, people are banning this all the time. The other thing is, if it doesn't have the best win rate, it's because it's being picked so much. People are just playing it that don't know what they're doing. People are also playing it in every single role pretty much, almost except 5 position, but they're playing it mid, they're playing it off lane, they're playing it 4 position, and a lot of times people will pick this hero in like all pick in pubs. People will pick this hero first phase as a support just so that the enemy can't pick it carry. That's how good this hero is right now. So if you don't know, 6 months ago, they changed the shard on this hero. It was around the time of TI-10. They made this permanent tree grab on the shard, and it was really, really good. It made this hero a very viable carry. I think later in the tournament of TI-10, it did fall off. And then after that tournament, it did get nerfed. It kind of fell off in general in the meta, but then it came back in the most recent patch, and that's because the big change is that you can now buy shard at 15 minutes instead of 20. So basically, for 1,400 gold, you get a 15-minute Battle Fury on this hero, which is absolutely ridiculous, along with all the other items you can buy, like Echo Saber treads that you can usually get before 15 minutes, plus that 1,400 gold. And then with that, you just scale up so high and quickly. You just become exponentially better as a hero with that shard, because now, if you're winning, if you're pushing, if you're crushing the game, you can just take towers so quickly. You can do insane damage in team fights. But if you need to farm, let's say you're farming because you're ahead or you're farming because you're behind, you're clearing through waves and stacks and camps way quicker because you don't have to worry about the tree cooldown, etc. So this hero just is so good. For that reason, that's kind of one of the main reasons, but also for just general reasons, and the fact that it always has done insane burst damage at like max level, or, once you get plus past 30 minutes, plus like level 25, etc. This hero has like 4 to 5k HP. It's absolutely ridiculous. You get extra armor for this from this ability. So if you have this ability plus AC or something, you have crazy high armor, crazy high HP. Now you're doing insane damage. You're like 3 hitting buildings. Like, you hit a building with your Echo Saber, you just like chunk it down in a couple hits. It's absolutely crazy what this hero can do. So that is Tiny. That's the number one hero of the patch. The obvious, in a way, S tier hero. Now, Tiny is clearly S tier. I was going to put some other heroes in S tier. I was debating about it based on how good they are, but I just think that Tiny deserved that far and away S tier alone by itself. I just think it deserved to be by itself up there. So now we're going to move on to A tier. So in A tier, we have Medusa. Medusa has a very, very good win rate now, very high pick rate, and the other hero is Templar Assassin, very high win rate and pick rate as well. These two heroes, I was debating putting them in S tier along with Tiny, just because Tiny, even though he's so popular, he just, I just think he has some weaknesses that can be exploited, specifically if you want to know Necrophos, who's pretty popular this patch. And I think Necro is actually really popular for some reasons, but one of the main ones is that he can just delete Tiny. Tiny's so tanky, but he can remove obviously half of that HP with that later ult. But in any case, Tiny does have his counters, and these two heroes, Medusa and Templar Assassin, maybe could be considered S tier, but they're just overall really good, so I put them in A tier here. They're very, very good heroes. Medusa's just been stable, honestly, for almost a year now. This hero's just all around good. She never really gets that many nerfs. I think, obviously, they nerfed stacking. They made the jungle harder, but this hero's just good enough that it doesn't really matter. You can still clear through stacks. It's just such a good and powerful hero right now that I think it's just overall good. Yeah, obviously, it has its counters. It's not great against Diffusal, which did get a buff, and it's not great against AM, but just in general, you can't argue with what the pros are saying and how good it is. TA is one of these heroes that, again, like 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, TA was super overpowered with like the Psyblade range. That got nerfed a little bit, but I think TA didn't get changed, too much else. Like, there wasn't too many other nerfs to the hero. So other than the crazy way it was broken, it was still very good, and it still is very good, and now it's kind of coming back into the meta. It's getting picked way more as a safe lane carry now, rather than a mid, although you can still go mid. Even with Medusa, you could potentially go mid, but I put it in the carry tier list mainly because it's being picked as a carry, honestly, more often than not, so that's why it's here, and it has a very good pick rate, very good win rate, so that's why it's here. The next few heroes, I think Chaos Knight and Faceless Void, they're up here because they are very strong right now. Chaos Knight, extremely strong. It's even being played off lane, and it's super strong. If you want to get some free MMR, honestly, pick this hero off lane. But it is a carry. It's being played as a carry, and it's very good. Faceless Void as well, just kind of good for all the reasons that Faceless Void is good. I also think Refresher Orb is still very good, so that means that Faceless Void's going to be up there. And then the last one here in A tier is Lone Druid. So this might be a little bit of a controversial pick. I think Lone Druid could potentially be argued for B tier, but this hero is really good right now. With the change to how armor is shared with the bear and some of the changes about how, creeps and other damage types and all those things in the last patch, this hero is really, really good right now. It's just not getting picked a lot. People don't play it a lot, but it is very powerful when it is picked. So that's why I put it up here. It has a very good win rate, but just doesn't have a high pick rate. But I think that's just the nature of the complication of the hero. People aren't really Lone Druid experts. There's not that many of them. So that's why I put it A, even though it could have been argued to be B. So that's A tier. Now let's move on to B tier. So B tier, we have Wraith King, we have Ursa. These were very high, very stable carries for a long time now. They didn't really get too many changes. I mean, I think Wraith King got some nerfs, but the one main thing about Wraith King that is keeping him in the meta, even though, a few months ago, he got his ult nerfed down to like 60 seconds or up to 60 seconds rather than 40 at max level. There's some nerfs here and there, but the hero now is able to kind of get more skeletons when his skeletons kill creeps when they're in kind of range of him, which helps him farm a lot quicker. So this hero is still fairly good. There was also a buff to Desolator, which this hero buys almost every game, Armlet Desolator, so that's very good. So I think that's still a hero that's in the meta. It's still getting picked in the pros, etc. It still has some good win rates. I think especially in China, it's doing really well. So it's B tier. Ursa, generally all around pretty good. Still a stable hero, just not as good as it once was, just falling off slightly, but I think it's still really good. Then we have PL, another one that has good win rate, not the highest pick rate or anything, but it's just a solid all-around hero. Razor, very good right now still because Refresher's very good. That kind of build where you just go straight into BKB as one of your first big items and then like maybe one more item, and Refresher's just kind of crazy. So against some lineups, a Razor that gets farm and has like Refresher or BKB and like one other item like AC or whatever it is, Satanic, it's almost unstoppable in some ways. The next 2 and 3, I would say, are even kind of controversial. So PA, I put here because of the way that this hero is able to play in pubs, even though it doesn't have the best win rate. This one might be a little bit controversial, but it is doing decently all around. I just think that it's pretty powerful. It's a little bit underrated at times, and this is a little bit more subjective that I put this up here. I think maybe it does deserve C tier in some ways based on the statistics, but I do think overall PH is a solid all-around good pick that you can't go wrong with right now as carry, especially with the Desolator buff, the fact that this shard, you have that break that you can apply to people. I don't think people know how to play the hero all that well. It doesn't have the best win rate, but I still think it's really good. And then Monkey King is maybe a little bit controversial too, because even though this hero has a decent win rate, decent pick rate, it is one of these weird flex picks. So it's like the #1 picked hero in NA Division 1 or something like that, or like #1 contested hero. But that's largely because it can kind of go to 4 position. It can kind of go mid 2. So that's why it's really popular. So that's why I don't put it higher, but it is very popular. It's a pretty good all-around hero. It can be built in so many different ways, so many different versatile ways. Even as carry, you can go Battle Fury, you can go Echo Saber, you can go Ags, you can just do so many things with this hero. I think it's a very solid pick. And then the last one in B tier, which again is kind of a little bit of a weird hero. It just sort of like Lone Druid here as an outlier, is that Huskar is typically thought of as a mid hero, but sort of like TA recently being transitioned to a carry, Huskar is now more becoming a carry because he's kind of in a lot of ways, his early game is not as strong as maybe it used to be a few years ago. They are buffing him. He did get a buff to have magic resistance on his E spell, his regen spell, which is really, really powerful. Now it's really, really good. But this hero also scales super well with the Ags Scepter that basically taunts people. It's like a mini axe call to one player. With buying, when you can buy Satanic, other things that tank you up, this hero can just be absolutely ridiculous. And it has a good win rate, good pick rate. I think with Necro being so good against Tiny, and it's just a clear counter to Huskar, I think that's one of the reasons that it's just not as good, is that like it's kind of hard, even though Huskar is so good, to play it into any lineup that picks Necro. So that's B tier. Pretty solid. You can't go wrong with really any of these picks. The next tier is C tier. And this tier, all these heroes are decent. They're okay. They just have hard counters or can fall off or don't do super well in every game. So we have Drow, we have Weaver, Anti-Mage, Bloodseeker, Ricky, Morphling, Jug, Clinks, Gyro. You can kind of see from this list, none of these heroes, it doesn't sound gross. It doesn't sound like, ugh, I hate that hero. Oh, it's really bad. Maybe Bloodseeker's a little bit of an odd one, but this hero is kind of getting better, coming up in the meta. Clinks is still okay for the same reasons that he was okay. Gyro's being picked more almost as a support and going like magic damage builds, but it's still okay as a carry. Morph is still decent. Ricky is still okay. The Diffusal Blade buff kind of made this hero pretty good, but it's good against maybe Medusa, Wraith King, these kinds of things, but it's still not the best right now. Anti-Mage, I think, can have his games. There's some games where Anti-Mage is really, really good. I would say look out for Anti-Mage in the sense that people are really going this Vanguard Diffusal build, or even Vanguard right into Manta build, because of the way the hero works now, with the fact that you can buy Diffusal, but also you can slow people when they have no mana. I think that's a huge buff to this hero. So right now, based on pick rates, win rates, all those things, I'm putting AM here, but this could be kind of a sleeper pick for later on in the meta. Look for AM to kind of rocket up here, B tier, even potentially A tier, if this hero can get really good. If that Vanguard build and not being forced to buy Battle Fury every game gets popular, this hero could potentially even be like a mid or off lane. I've seen crazy mid and off lane anti-mages actually work, so keep that in mind. Weaver, I think, is a good all-around hero, more of a 4 position right now, but can still work as carry. And Drow can still be pretty good, but just not like the best, can have some obvious counters. So that's C tier. Next, we're going to look at D tier. So D tier, we have Slark, we have Luna, Lifestealer, Terrorblade, Troll Warlord, Nature's Prophet, Sniper, and Naga Siren. So basically, all these heroes they kind of have fallen off a lot. Now, Luna's probably the best one in this segment here, but just based on the pure statistics, this hero has fallen off a lot. I think that it could potentially be C tier, so that's the one that I'm kind of thinking, when I'm looking at it now, this one might deserve to be on a higher spot, but it's still just not very contested. People don't like it for whatever reason. I think it's a little bit underrated, but still, just based on the statistics there. Slark, absolutely terrible right now. I just feel like this hero does not have a place in the meta. It's just really weird. I feel like it just doesn't know what to build. It needs mana. There's just so many weird things about it, with Echo Saber just getting so nerfed. And it just, you can buy Diffusal, but it doesn't feel great. Lifestealer, not at a great spot. Similarly, it's just, Lifestealer hasn't been at a great spot for a while. And I think these heroes are just not very good against all the popular heroes either. Terrorblade, Naga, similar illusion carries, they're okay. They can work in the game where they work, but they don't always work, and you have to really know how to play them. Troll, I think he's been picked with some success in pros occasionally, but that's only, I think, with a few players that are really good Troll players. Otherwise, I just think this hero's never going to be good until his ultimate is changed, where you can actually control it. And then Sniper was kind of on the upswing, but kind of fell off again a little bit. I just don't think Sniper carry is really becoming a thing. I had him in C tier last patch, just kind of as a meme, because I think it is becoming a little bit more viable, but still not super viable. And then Nature's Prophet, we've been seeing some people pick it carry, still in meta, in the pro meta, but still just not the best right now. It's just not where it was maybe a year ago or so, when it was being picked actually as a carry a lot. So that's D tier. And then lastly, we have F tier. So F tier here, we have 3 heroes. We have Alchemist, Sven, and Spectre. So Spectre is absolutely dumpster tier. They changed this hero about maybe 6 months to a year ago. They nerfed it to the ground. This hero always seems to come back around in the meta. It always seems to be pretty good almost every year. I mean, it's like how OG used to win TI or used to be so good all the time, even before they won TI. Like Ana and his Spectre were just so good for so many years. It was just so amazing. This hero had crazy late game, was so hard to bring down, etc., etc. But I think they've kind of nerfed it into oblivion. They've changed so many things about it. They made mana cost so bad. Just everything about the hero, all the statistics, like all the stats, all the different ways that the ability scale have just been dumpstered into the ground, and now it has like a 40% win rate. So it's just not great right now. Sven, it's either a Sven patch or it's not. Honestly, Sven and Alchemist, it's either an Alchemist patch or it's not. I think these two heroes are almost exactly the same in some kind of conceptual sense, in that both of these heroes, they just farm so fast. Like, we have heroes like Luna, we have heroes like Medusa, even now like Wraith King, Tiny. These heroes farm quickly, but they just don't farm as quickly as these two heroes. These two heroes farm so quickly. Alchemist with his built-in, obviously, gold enhancement, Grievel's Greed, and then Sven with his built-in Cleave. That's basically a free Battle Fury with his ability. These heroes farm way quicker than any other hero in the game, pretty much as carry, and so either that's really good or it's just not that good. Either they can scale and come online super easily and super quickly and they just dominate the game, or they kind of don't do that. It's very hard to get the farm that they need. It's hard to get the space they need, and they can never really come online and feel super powerful despite their farm advantage. And right now, they just don't feel that good. So that's F tier, and that is the carry tier list for patch 7.31b. I think this is a pretty good tier list, a pretty straightforward, simple tier list. Let me know if you have any disagreements. I think heroes like Druid could be maybe at a different spot. Maybe PA's a little too high. Maybe Luna's a little too low there. But I think Tiny's definitely the best carry of the patch. Pretty obvious there. Like I said, look out for Anti-Mage with this weird Vanguard Diffusal build, etc. And look out for, obviously, Huskar just stomping pubs, these kinds of things. But yeah, that was the carry tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys liked the video. As always, like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things. Join the Discord if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing replay reviews every Friday on my Twitch as well, where you can request those replays to be reviewed in the Twitch chat or on my Discord. Also, now every Saturday, I will be doing community games. So to just kind of keep track of that, go to my Twitch or my Discord. And as always, if you need coaching, if you want coaching, or you just want to support me in general, go to my Patreon. Consider donating there or signing up for coaching to try to improve. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.